she's a Yo Sabo Latina here in the space.
But just in general, I just love to inspire people in every area of their lives because I'm not perfect, but previous me was very selfish. It was all about me, what I could do for me. You can only see the favor and the grace of God when you showcase hey, I struggle.
I struggle with this myself personally because I would say that even me trying to build my social media.
My mom made $100 on my stories, on my Instagram. People came to pick up these deodorants. People still text.
Okay guys, welcome once again to our new podcast episode. It's Danilo and Andres here with the 416Hustle podcast. We have a very special guest today. It's Sofia Aguilar. She is a social media strategist. So she actually helps people put themselves out there in the marketing space and make sure that people are actually seeing you so you can sell your products, promote your business, make some money. So we have really, really great gems for you today for sure. Because you know what, she's really well spoken. She's a Latina here in the she's a Yo Sabo Latina here in the space in the GTA, and she's actually working worldwide. Okay, guys. So welcome, Sofia.
Sofia, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
What's the main points you want the people to know before we get started? Who is Sofia Aguilar?
So I think I always love to introduce myself as a multi-passionate creative. There's so many layers to who I am, what I love, but the most important part is that I changed my life about 4 years ago when I gave my life to Jesus. So ever since then, my focus has always been, loving God, loving people, but also just living out my life's purpose. I think that's the most important thing. You could live your whole life and just hate what you do, be a horrible person, and just be unhappy. And so 4 years ago, I made the decision to just live my life out fully. And I think it's just cascaded into everything that I do, from the marketing space to my podcast to non-for-profit sectors. I work at my church. I get to serve there. But just in general, I just love to inspire people in every area of their lives because I don't think you just need to do one thing in this world. So
what do you think is the main difference of Sofia from before that decision and after that decision?
Good question.
That's a great question. You're about to make me win my testimony here. I'll say, growing up, like many women, I struggled with people pleasing and seeking external validation. So that led me to, I was exposed to clubbing and alcohol and men at a very young age because I used to be a dance instructor at Anco on Latin Wednesdays. Not only because of that, but
Who remembers Anco on Wednesdays? Oh my God. Anyway.
And I think because of that, I, not only high school, but I grew up very quickly. I had my first job by the time where my friends were, having birthday parties still. And I was hosting people's birthday parties at Sky Zone, right? I had so many responsibilities. And so that led me to seek out for people and be just, I wouldn't say in the wrong crowd because I never got involved in bad people, I would say, but it was all a personal thing where I just required for people to tell me I was worthy. And that was a very big pattern up until that decision where I said, you know what? The money has been great. I made really great money. I was a bartender. I had my dance company. I knew that I wanted a life of purpose, but I was doing it the wrong way. So I would say the difference is I'm not perfect now, but my days start, finish, and continue with God at the forefront. I pray about a lot of the decisions that I make. I make sure that I'm more focused about people than I am of myself. I'll say previous me, I'm working on this, but I'm not perfect. But previous me was very selfish. It was all about me, what I could do for me. I had no time for my family. To be honest, I really didn't care because it was all about the money, the attention. And now it's there's a bigger purpose for all this. I feel like I almost see a light of being this has nothing to do with me and everything about the purpose and the legacy that I'm leaving here. I feel like I'm more patient. I'm not very patient, but I'm more patient. Yeah. And I just think that my business has blown up and has had those success that it has, not because of who I am, but because of who I serve. And everything at the end of the day goes back to God. So yeah.
Amazing. That's amazing. It's all about perspective. Yes. I think it's a shift in perspective is what I'm hearing, and that's great that you did that, because now all of a sudden your angle is not about serving yourself and you're serving others. And I think when you walk that path, things return to you automatically. You know? It's just, that's amazing.
We were speaking before we started this that in one of the camps we have at Keller Williams, they teach us that you should have different mentors in different parts of your life. So you should have a spiritual mentor or a financial mentor, a health mentor, to keep you accountable on things you do every day. And then shout out to Sam Kwan that recently took people from the office to church, and we were talking about that. And what are your thoughts on that? On like people, obviously he's not pushy, but like you try to motivate your friends and your circle around you to go to church. Like what's your strategy around that, I guess, or thoughts?
Yeah, I'll say it's very strategic, and God has called us to all be a light of the world. That's who we are. And I think the best way you could lead people to anything, like mentorship wise, I have a lot of mentors, and I pay for a lot of mentorship and coaching, because if they've been there, then they can take me there. And that's the same thing with my approach to how I share the gospel and how I share the love of God. It's not about being pushy. It's not about being like, you're a sinner, come to church. It's like, look at my life. Yeah. And a lot of the times my friends will say, I'm going through this struggle, and I'll say, hey, this is how I got through it. And sometimes people, like Christian or not, loving God or not, we all crave the same thing. We crave connection and we crave love. And when it goes down to connecting with somebody, if they can feel the love, if they can feel the peace, they'll be like, what are you doing that I guess I'm not feeling? How do I get that feeling? And I mean, for me, I'll tell them like, hey, you know what? I go to church, but I also pray, and I also have a devotional. I'm never like, I think I've ever pushed anybody. I've just been the example. And that's who my sister was. When 10 years ago, my eldest, or I think now more, maybe like 13, 14 years ago, my eldest sister, was going through a really hard time, then met, her purpose partner, got married, had kids. And I was just like, what juice are you drinking? Like, how do I get this magic potion in my life? And I saw her have so much favor and like just her life transformed. And I said, I want whatever you have. And I mean, it wasn't a magic potion. It wasn't a drug. It wasn't, like, it wasn't the things that this world kind of offers you. It was God. And I think, the best way that you can show and guide people is through being that light yourself. And not everyone's going to showcase, I mean, now with social media, not everyone's going to showcase the beautiful and the lows and the highs, but I make it a point in my life that I'm going through really difficult times, like right now as we speak, and I was very vulnerable about it on social media, because you can't just glorify all the places you've been here. Like, I'm traveling, hitting like multiple figures a month without showcasing that I cry, that I go through struggles and I go through pain. So I showcase that multifaceted side, because you can only see the favor and the grace of God when you showcase like, hey, I struggle with things too. So
And do you think like displaying that vulnerability and showing people the ups and downs like resulted in actually more attraction to you, like just being able to kind of put yourself out there a little bit more? I struggle with this myself personally, because I would say that even me trying to build my social media, like I'm gonna have to talk to you a little bit more about this, but like I do a lot of like professional type stuff. I do a lot of educational type content, but I don't necessarily show Danilo too much. I noticed recently, like I put a few pieces out there like that, and I noticed that I get like a different type of, reception to that. Do you think that that's important, that people should kind of like be open to that if they want to maybe have a little bit more attraction in their business, or, just try to grow the personal brand? Yeah,
that's a really great question, because everyone has a different perspective. I always say I'm a personal brand. And if you are attracted to me in business, I think that what's for you is for you. And a lot of people get the ick, or like are curious, like if I show my personal life, then it's not professional. And it's like, at the end of the day, business is business and personal is personal. I'm a businesswoman, so if you want to have a business conversation, we can, but I'm also very personal, and I wouldn't be able to be my business if it wasn't for my personal life, right? So as a real estate agent, I mean, you probably had an experience buying a home, or maybe you couldn't even purchase a home, or maybe you have a situation in your mortgage, or maybe there was a lesson that you learned. That only equips you to be who you are now as a business professional, as a real estate agent, where you can say, oh, that client who struggled getting a mortgage because they had a horrible credit score, well, here's what I'm going to teach you about my experience. So that's where you get personal, right? So I think it's so important to intertwine the two. I always intertwine the two. I wouldn't say I separate my brand. It's all a collective. Like, you get Sofia, you get it all. And I think that's also been a balance that I've been navigating through business, of like, don't get too friendly in business, because there could be some situations there, but I just try to show up organically and authentically as myself, and just that's like key. You just like, here is me, you take it or you leave it, and you love the side, like you take what you love and you leave what you don't. At the end of the day, maybe not everybody loves the raw and authentic Danilo, but they love how professional you are and how you could lead them in real estate. or people buy into you because of your personal, and like you were talking
100%.
about a TikTok video earlier, like people will drive into who you are maybe from like that vulnerable story and then say like you have a heart, like you have grit, and so I can trust you with this transaction.
100%.
So I think it's just a mindset shift. A lot of people like psych themselves out of like, what is someone gonna think? Are they gonna
overthink?
Yeah, they overthink, and they actually create a scenario in their head of what could possibly happen, when it's like the amount of time you were thinking about how that could all gone wrong, you could have put that same energy into creating the video and then watching the results like skyrocket from there. So all I've ever known is my personal brand. When I was bartending, I told people to come see me at the bar. I didn't tell them to come get a drink. I told them come see me at the bar. Right? Come to the dance lessons for me, because at the end of the day, it's not about what you do, it's about who you are. You could do it. You could sell anything tomorrow.
And I think that's very, very important that you're saying all this. Like, what I'm taking from this is this, like, just to preface, like, all this stuff is I think you got to be authentic. 100%. You got to be yourself. And I think you had a turning point, like you said, 4 years ago, where you're like, look, I can now find my purpose, or at least I'm a little bit more clear on what that is. And now what comes out of you is a more authentic person. And I think when you put yourself out there like that, like that's when people connect with you truly. You know, if you're like trying to get in front of the camera screen and you're trying to be something that you're not, I think that also shows. And I think that's when people maybe turn away from you instead of kind of attract to you, right? Like, and I think that's really, really important. That's something that I'm kind of like discovering as well. And I think you just got to be you, you know? And when you're you and you're also confident in what you're putting out there, because you have experiences in your business or whatnot, like that's what's going to make the difference, guys. This is what I'm hearing anyways.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the power of social media. We had a chat earlier. Like, get a testimonial from yourself or like a client where you saw a result and like maybe even it surprised you, or you said, wow, this is really powerful. Like, when did you see, like, not just in yourself but in other people, the power of social media?
Honestly, there's so many. I'm going to share a really funny story. There was a time during the pandemic where I had my dance company, Confidence and Movement. My dad built a dance studio in our basement. I was in network marketing, selling shampoo and like skincare products and building a team. And then my mom was like, well, I want to make deodorants. And I was like, okay, I still have it on my Instagram. My mom made deodorants and I said, watch. So I posted my mom talking about the power of like natural deodorants on my stories. She sold 10 and she had them each for like $10. I was like, hey girl, you could charge so much more. My mom made $100 on my stories, on my Instagram. People came to pick up these deodorants. Like people still text me and ask me for them. And all she had to say was, you know what? Organic deodorants. I make them from home. She said it in Spanish. I translated
English
in English.
Accent too?
Yeah, and I still have them on my stories, and
really
people purchase them. And I think the power of social media is just like incredible. People find me every single day through social media. I'm barely around in person now, but if people are coming across, someone shared my page. I did have another client who found me on social media and now goes to my church and got baptized and is now one of my clients. So it's crazy. I always go back to the fact that like our voice, like we're a sound piece, you know, and social media is where everybody is right now. Content creation is only gonna skyrocket and it's only gonna be in more high demand.
We're scratching the surface here.
Yeah, and that's literally what it is, and people haven't even seen like how great it's been. For me, I've sold multiple digital products, I have multiple in-person services, but my biggest joy is seeing when my clients post something and they can land deals. Maybe they get 5, maybe they don't get any lead, but it's their confidence. I had a client just last week say, Sophia, I didn't even know how to smile in my wedding photos. Like she just got married last year and she was like, I didn't even have the confidence to smile in my wedding photos, but during her content day, she was cheesing like the whole time. Like she was like big smile and everything because she finally tapped into being herself. And yes, content creation can bring you results, but it all starts from within. So unfortunately, it is a muscle like we were talking about. You may not feel confident at the beginning. You may not feel like you have it all together. There's so much like trials and errors, right, that come with 100%. It. But once you start showing up, the possibilities are endless. Leads, inquiries, just somebody saying like, hey, I needed this today. You don't understand how much power it is. Or now recommendations. People are like, hey, your service might not work for me, but I'm going to recommend you to my friend who does this, that, and the third. Like your opportunities just open up much more when you use social media as what you should be using it, your digital portfolio, your digital business card, like everything is online. So
100%,
yeah,
100%.
That's
So
amazing. I
You
like
know what? Like I was gonna say. Okay, go ahead. No.
I was gonna say I like what you said about like using things as like instruments.
yeah,
Maybe social media is the instrument you're missing, but the thing is like you don't know until
Yes.
you try.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right? And you'll be surprised how many people watch and they might not like, or they might not comment, or they might not share.
always
But
watching.
the amount of people that say, "Hey, I liked your post," and I'll be like, "Yeah, like you never engage with my stuff." Like, oh, like I love your
Follow
social,
me.
I love your social media, and it's like
I've gotten that.
you can't. Obviously, everyone like looks at their notifications here and there, but like you don't recall maybe seeing them or like, seeing their comment or
correct.
anything,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And then the testimonial that we had like from my biggest real estate transaction was because I posted like a sentimental video of like a hardship I had, and then someone really related to it, and they gave me a Spanish-speaking client. And it ended up being the biggest deal I've ever done, thank God. But the power of social media is like you never know who's watching. You never know when the algorithm's going to hit that right person. That might be a lead or someone that's going to make a difference in your life. It doesn't obviously have to be
100%.
always financial, right? It could be like a gain in like spiritually or like
Or a new relationship.
or a new relationship. Like you never know.
And that's all a conversion. Like I always say, content that converts. Like that's my tagline is I help high-level entrepreneurs create high converting content.
Amazing.
Why? Because converting doesn't just mean leads. It's a new relationship. It's like I said, it's that follow, that like, and those will be the same people who will get you your largest transaction. I never even thought about flying worldwide for what I do. And it was just one person that says, hey, like, can you come to Florida to film? I was like, absolutely, I can. And from there, it just skyrocketed to going to Antigua, to going to Dominican, New York. Like,
Your mind probably just like expanded. You know,
this
it's like, wait, I could do this. Like, you know, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of points on the social media thing too. Just things that I picked up over time. Like, you're almost like, look, if you're an expert in your field, in your business, and you know that you do a good job for your clients, you're almost doing a disservice. Okay, not putting yourself out there to find that client because those people are working with other people, and you know that you can do a better job than them. Okay, so you got to put yourself out there in order for those people to find you instead. You know, and another thing that I've learned as well is like visibility trumps ability. Even if you put yourself out there a lot, you know, you can be even, there could be somebody way better than you, but you know what, you're going to get the actual deal or whatever, the relationship or the lead or whatever it is because you're putting yourself out there a little bit more.
Yeah, that's one of my like favorite sayings is that there are people less qualified than you to do what you to be doing and they're killing it 100%. I always see that like people always fall in this comparison thing, and I meet a lot of agents but service professionals and product based that are like, I've been doing this for over 20-30 years, I've never needed social media. No problem, you've never needed it, but you need it now. Doesn't matter how good you are, nobody knows who you are right now.
Or it could propel you.
Yeah, and
maybe you don't
if you've been doing so well, if you've been doing so well, imagine what this addition could do for you. And I think what scares a lot of people is that they don't have time. So that's where I'm learning as a business owner. Like I'm a creative. I will say like that's my, like I said, I'm a multi-passionate creative, but I'm shifting into the role of a CEO. And as a businesswoman, I need to make business decisions to know that I can't do it all for myself. And when you shift into being a business owner is you knowing that like my zone of genius is in conversation. So if I can have 10 conversations a day, I can close 10 people a day, right? But if I'm creating, filming, editing, doing my website, doing sales calls, doing my CRM, putting lanyards on like streets and knocking on doors, I'm just stretching myself out so thin. So that's where you have to find people in their zone of genius, aces in their places, which is what I'm doing now. Like, I mean,
aces in their places.
Better late than never. I mean, it only took me so long, but I had to make a large investment just yesterday in building a team and saying, you know what, I can't do this alone. It is true. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, you have to do it with people. And that's where when my clients hire me, I say, don't look at me as a contractor. Like, I'm not somebody who you're wasting your money on. You don't look at this as like a video or like a little cute Instagram reel. This is business. And when you invest, in services like content creation, social media, marketing, website, you're only allowing yourself to expand in a new direction, in a new realm. But your mind has to be ready to accept that this is your new like moment of elevation. Otherwise, you're just
100%.
going to see it as a waste of money.
I had a talk with an entrepreneur. So we're collabing like on a lot of things recently, and their business partner is not so keen on the whole social media thing. But then I told them, I'm like, listen, you have to have at least a base.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna Google you and then I click on your YouTube channel, no matter almost what business you are, obviously real estate even more, right? And I only see one video, it's going to make it look like you were just like whatever company.
Yeah.
If you at least have a base, even if the videos are a couple months old or a year, obviously try not to do that, but at least there's a base of digital presence.
Yeah.
Right? So depending on what like industry you're in, you want to attack like social, like certain platforms.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think you just need to stay relevant. Like, honestly, and if you can't stay relevant, you're just, like you said, doing everybody a disservice, because the biggest compliment that people, like, I don't want to toot my own horn, but people come to me and say, Sophia, I want to show up consistently. You show up every single day. I don't miss. And there's a reason for that, is because if I'm going to be preaching,
that's an example,
get consistent on social media, and if I show up once a week, obviously there's been boundaries and a balance of how I've learned to show up. You're only, like, just losing out on money, I think, when you don't practice what you preach. And then, if anything, I think I would be very, very silly if I didn't show up consistently, do what I do, because that's actually why clients come to me. They actually say, this is what I want. I am my own, like, digital portfolio. Like, you come to my page and you say, this is what I want, and you stay relevant. And I don't mean, film videos every single day. I always say batch your content, like make it, again, work smarter, not harder. All day yesterday was my admin day, and one of my clients, who's now one of my friends, she's in real estate also, her name's Sasha, she introduced to me this concept that she read in a book. I don't remember what the guy's name was, but it's called FBF days. So I think it's like this real estate guru that said, have your focus days, your free days, and your something days, buffer days. And it's like, I was like, oh, this makes sense, because
Maxwell.
I think maybe it's Maxwell Malt, or I don't know, some book that she read. But I just think it's so important that I know I can't work that way. Like, I can do 10 million things in a day, but it's better if I segment. I always call it segment intention into what you do. So batch your content, have those days where they're creative days, research, editing, posting days, so that you can break it up so it doesn't feel so heavy, or hire somebody.
And you generate energy.
So many gems so far, guys.
You recharge to attack your admin day more, and versus like just burning yourself out.
Exactly.
100%. Yeah. You know what? A couple of thoughts on what we just said, man. So many gems, guys. I'm hoping everyone's paying attention to what we're saying here, especially Sophia. Like, man, everything you guys are saying. And you know what, Andres? Like, if you Google yourself, you have to find something. Like, you got to think about how you research things. You got to think about how customers research things. Nowadays, people go on Google and they look at Google reviews before they go to a restaurant. I mean, I know that I do that. So if I'm doing that, then your customer's doing that. You got to be there. You know, you got to be there. And another thing as well, to your point, it's like, look, if I want to scale, okay, I need to now leverage. You need to find aces in their places. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's amazing. And you got to also focus. You also got to focus, like, 80% of your attention should be on things that are moving the needle. Yeah, right? You got to be having those conversations with people. Yeah. You got to be, and I thought the same thing too. I'm like, look, I can't be editing videos. I can't be doing the admin stuff. I have to be on the phone with clients, like, and making those conversions. Like, that is my, like, skill that moves the needle, and that's what you got to focus on too. So yeah, for sure.
That's the example like I was giving before we started this, was like, an actor doesn't worry about what he's going to eat or what she's going to eat, what she's going to wear, what he's going to wear. They have people that do all those things, and then they just come and they perform. Even athletes, right? Yeah. They show up to the game and they're ready to go. Someone's cooking for them. And I was just saying, as an entrepreneur, you're going to try to save costs, but you just like started making your own team because you see the value in you focusing your energy on certain things and having your team handle the rest.
Yeah, and it's going to be expensive at first. Like, everything in life is an investment, and you get to decide. At the end of the day, you get to decide. I don't think any investment is a bad investment. I think everything is an opportunity. I've made some pretty
bad investments.
I'm not gonna lie.
But you learn from it.
And I've learned from it. And the reason why I'm not gonna say they're bad investments, because people are probably watching this that I've invested in, and they just haven't been at the right time. Mm-hmm. It wasn't at the right time. I wasn't prepared, and it's so easy to blame things on other people. Correct. But if I'm the type of person where I'm like, okay, cool, just take my money and do it. But you can't invest like that. Yeah. Because that's not that's not how you make wise decisions, right? So I always, I'm in a season where, I pray over things. That's one thing. But I also go to my mentors and say, hey, what do you think about this investment? Oh, not right now? Okay, cool. Because then if I can't give that investment my all, I mean, there's not much. I can't hire an admin and say, I can't, just do the work. Okay, but what work? So you just have to, you can't always blame things on other people. And I think people have, said, oh, I worked with the social media manager, it didn't work. I created content, it didn't work. It didn't work because you didn't work. That's just always what I say. I'm like, it's not always about the external thing. And it's so much easier to blame the person or the situation than to inwardly say, you know what? I actually only tried it for 15 days. Let me give it some more time. Or I wasn't fully present in that conversation. I think I could have been a better like communicator. So that's kind of where I'm auditing all my investments and saying, okay, what could I do better now and not make the same mistakes I did before? Because it's a pretty heavy investment, like $4,000 a month on a team when my business is like generating anywhere from like 10 to 20 plus living expenses and costs. Like being an entrepreneur is freaking expensive
100%.
And nobody talks about how expensive it is. We always just talk about the income coming in, but nobody talks about the profit. Like there's months that I don't profit. I pay my bills and I break even. And then it's like, I pay my team more than I pay myself.
But you got the vision though.
Yeah.
You got the vision. That's the important thing. You know? Even me personally, like I kind of experienced a similar thing. Like, you know, I went like a few years back, like I actually added an agent onto the team, you know, and maybe I wasn't ready for it at the time, you know. After a few short months, like we kind of both realized that maybe this doesn't work. And so I had to come back to the drawing board. I didn't blame her. It was like, I looked internally and was like, okay, well, what was I doing or not doing that, you know, didn't make this work?
Yeah.
And then I realized I'm like, okay, like I need to put something else. I need to put another piece in then. Okay. So I, took a step forward, 2 steps back.
Yeah.
I analyzed the whole thing and I'm like, okay, now I got to get this admin. I got to get a full-time admin in-house. It was scary to do.
Yeah.
You're paying this person a salary per year and you're like, man, like and
where's the salary going to come from?
Sure. Right. And so at the end of the day, like it made me actually be able to achieve a lot more because it took away things like the low converting items away from me.
Yeah.
And it allowed me to focus on things that, like I said, move the needle earlier, right?
Yeah,
like move the needle and actually make some. So now that I have that person in place and things have grown or things have changed, now I'm in a position to maybe bring somebody onto the team.
Yeah.
And all those little puzzle pieces, like you have to try. And I don't look at it as a failure. I look at it as a stepping stone.
Yeah.
And as something that actually allowed me to a lesson to allow me to kind of grow.
That's good.
And that's what you got to do. Sometimes you got to take a no risk no reward, right?
Yeah.
And that's the same in business. And if you guys are out there looking, right? If you're out there looking, thinking you're gonna invest in a business, you are gonna go down before you go up.
Yeah.
And you can't be scared to spend, right? Because it's not really spending, it's not an expense, it's an investment into your future. And you just have to have that vision, If you see yourself over there, you got to walk there first, And maybe you're gonna there's bumps along the road, but you have to bring it back, reanalyze, and just keep it moving,
So good.
Yeah, amazing.
I like that you said timing. One of my mentors, he didn't physically say it to me, but I just read it off him that timing is everything.
Yeah.
He's a gentleman, lives in the city, very connected to like one of the biggest record labels in like all of Canada. And he always has artists that bug him, hey, promote me. And he says, if the time is right, the time will come, kind of thing. And I've always heard him say that, and I've always seen him like kind of do that. And even like, for an example, like Soul Properties, we're still grassroots. We've only been like doing this for like a year. And instead of like being like, hey, look at me, my strategy is like build internally, make enough noise where that person might even approach us in terms of like, hey, what are you doing over there? And it's naturally occurring, right? Instead of focusing, sometimes it's not about like handing out pamphlets or trying to get people's attention. It's working on yourself, your brand, and then letting them come to you, right? And having a balance.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest questions that I learned to ask myself in relationships, I share on my podcast a very vulnerable time when I was in a relationship we broke up in my previous relationship back in May. And my healing process looked like saying in relationships, but also in business, that if I were to receive it right now, would I be ready? And I was in a season, I always kept blaming like the other person, men, like places, like men are trash. Like how many times have you heard that before? Or like social, like, but just in general, or like women are like the women in the city just are not good women, like whatever, but also in business, like there's people that it's like, oh no, that person, and it's like you can create so many stories in your head, but is it like, if it came to you right now, if the investor came to you right now, if the relationship came to you right now, would you be ready to receive it? And I know that last year was a healing journey for me. It still is. I feel like I'm healing internally, externally. And I had to put a lot of things on hold. I just literally had to say, you know what? I'm focusing on myself, my mind, my heart, my relationship with God. And that meant my business took a step back.
Yep.
everything took a step back. But I wouldn't be able to receive the blessings that I have now, the clients, the money, like stewarding like multiple figures in your bank account. Would you be ready? People always say, oh, I want to make the 6 figures. I want to make the 7 figures. I want to have a full database. Yeah, but would you be ready to receive it? So I think timing is key. There has been a lot of times that I fumbled the bag because I got excited.
Yeah.
I got way too excited of being like, oh my gosh, I hit 10K. And then I made $12,000 in refunds that same month because I couldn't receive and handle the load of what that 10K meant. It wasn't just about the money. It was about the responsibility. So I think that you can really screw things up in the rush of the timing of things. But yeah, I always relate it back to relationships because at the end of the day, business, everything goes back down to
everything in life. And I joke with my clients all the time. I'm like, this is like a marriage.
This is like a marriage.
We gotta like each other, okay? You gotta try each other out. See if you like me and I like you, straight up, because it might not work on one side.
Not like a marriage because we're not getting divorced, but
So everything is about relationships in life.
Yeah, 100%.
So what does a day in the life of like Sofia look like? Like when from you wake up to when you rest your eyes.
This is such a funny story because I think about my days, and the biggest thing I say is like, I schedule my, like, if you look at my Google Calendar, if it's not on my schedule, it doesn't exist. And that even in like naps eating food. Like I had to schedule my meals because I can start work all day long and I won't eat. Like I'll be so in depth into my work. So I've learned to schedule things out a lot. But a day in my life, I like to wake up. Sometimes I wake up at 6. Sometimes I wake up at 8. Sometimes I wake up at 9. Honestly, I just feel like I listen to my body. I have a personal trainer, so I'm usually training in the mornings. And on the days that I'm not training with them, I try to train on my own, but plug to my personal trainers, I probably don't. I'll do it in the evening. I do my prayer, my devotional. I worship, so that's like a standard in my day. I just start my day always with God. I'll go on my phone right away. I'll be honest. A lot of people say like, oh, don't go on your phone first thing in the morning. I turn my phone on. My phone's always on, but my phone is like, the first thing I do is I check my DMs, I check my emails, and I check my text messages. I know that there's people that wake up before me. There's clients that are messaging me probably at 3 a.m. wanting to work with me. And the first thing I love doing is just getting in contact, like that first touch point to know what I have to do in my day. I'll probably order like Instacart or something to like start making my food for the day. But honestly, my day just looks like creating all the time. My biggest advice to all my clients and anybody is I'm always creating. ABC, always be creating, and I'm always creating content. My whole day revolves around filming everything that I do because that's the nature of my job. Like I document everything. So calls, I do discovery calls, coffee chats, client strategy sessions. I'm forming anywhere from 3 to 7 strategies a day. Editing content. I take naps every single day from like 2 to 4. I feel like a child, but honestly,
siestas.
Siestas. I take them every day. Like I don't know what happens to me, but at 2 p.m. I have like a brain fog. Like one, and maybe it's related to like my health situation, or it's just like I do so much from like 6 to 12. And there's a really good book that's called At Your Best. And it taught me green zone, red zone, and yellow zone. It's by Corey Newhoff. He's a Christian author, and he talks about how he segments his days in quarters as well. So like from 6 to 10, he does one thing. And then, 10 to 1 is another day. And 2 to 4 is another day. And then 5 to 9 is another day. And I was like, this is exactly how I structure my days because there's times like I have this creative bug at night. Like from 8 p.m. onwards, I'm like I get so excited. I get so creative. My best ideas, I've made the most money probably at like 1 a.m. because my ideas run. So some days I go to sleep at 10:30. Some days I go to sleep at 1. I've definitely gone to bed at 3 a.m. and woken up at 5, like because that's just where my creative days are. And I think the calendar. Yeah, every day, but every day looks different, right? And I think that's what we have to honor is that we put a lot of pressure on like the morning routine and a day in the life and what a day should look like. And at the end of the day, you can plan for things, but you can't plan for everything. And there's some days where I don't feel well emotionally. There's gonna be those hard days or things may go wrong. But one of the things that I love about being an entrepreneur is the freedom that we have. We have so much freedom. And I said, I was on a panel and they asked me what has been the biggest success in my business, and I just said the freedom. Because yes, you can have money, but if you're tied, I might as well just be working a job.
No,
if I'm
100%.
tied to a schedule, right? So some days my sister will be like, can you go pick up the kids? And I want to go pick up the kids, and I can genuinely just
That's amazing.
Step in my car, drive to pick them up at 3 and be there with them. And so yeah, every day looks different, but a standard in my days, I film everything that I do. I'm always on Instagram. I'm always voice noting away. I'm driving and creating content. Yep. I'm just always creating content.
So let's be clear, guys. Entrepreneurship is very different than a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah.
And I said this maybe in another video too, but I'm very envious sometimes of someone who shuts down at 5 on Friday and can restart at 9 on a Monday, and it has nothing. Doesn't even have to think about work in between.
Literally.
Because as an entrepreneur, like that's not the case. However, you might be working more hours, but I feel like it's more gratifying. Like what you do, it feels a lot nicer. And yeah, you're right. Like maybe during the day you can break off at 2:30 to go pick up kids or something like that, and step back in. And I think another thing that you said is really good. Sometimes when you have a mental block because you're just working, sometimes it's good to do the siesta or to even just go outdoors and do something mundane that requires no thought.
Yeah.
So that your brain can just like have that little break. And when you come back, believe me, you can go right back into it. And so I think that's really good.
Yeah, I've had to learn how to do that. I've been engraved in hustle culture. Like my dad is the hardest worker I know. Like since I was little, from when we came to Canada, all I've known is my father working. So all I know is work. All I know is hustle. Like he'll see me.
416 hustle. 416 hustle.
What are you doing? Hustle. And I'm not gonna lie.
That might be our intro, bro. I don't know.
Literally, just like hustle. Because the reality is, I don't know if it's just like a Hispanic thing or just a generational thing that the hustle culture has been engraved, and it's like do more, make more, have more. There's never enough time, just do more. And my dad always taught me that. Like if you're not doing anything, you're like, go figure it out. Estás sentado, like get up. Like why are you just sitting there? There's money to be made. So
sure. Oh man, that's
somebody
a really good
asked
lesson.
me last year, like, what makes you happy? And honestly, I couldn't answer that question. I didn't know. I'm still discovering like what makes me happy.
Sure.
And I don't really know how to have fun, because fun is, if I go to a restaurant, I'm filming content. If I'm going on a walk, I'm filming content of the walk, right? So you're right, like disconnecting and just really allowing yourself to be in a place of like, nothing can be okay too. And nothing doesn't mean nothing. It means because sometimes we attach nothing to being lazy. So I've had to really remove a lot of those attachment and those labels and those titles of like, nothing means I'm lazy. Or if I'm taking a day off, then something has to be broken. No, it just is a day off. And you're right. Like we quit I quit my bartending job, quit our 9-to-5s to work 24/7, literally. And sometimes even more. But I think about it every single day. I'm like, I applied for a job on LinkedIn. I've done that. I don't know about you guys, but I've scrolled on LinkedIn. I've scrolled on Indeed being like, how can I get a job? And then I go back down to being like, I just can't fit myself into a box, and there's just so much more freedom, like you said, and purpose and passion. But yeah, at the end of the day, we have to find the things that we love. We have to sometimes literally remove ourselves from what we do, because you attach yourself to what you are. I don't know if you guys have ever done this, but like, my identity was solely attached to social media, to content creation, to what I did. I kind of like lost myself in my faith at the time of being like, I wasn't called to be a social media content creator. Like God didn't make me and said, right? She is going to be a content creator. There's so much more to your identity. Just like, some women that keep their identity to being a mom, like all they are is the mother. And it's like, no, you are still a woman. You're still a human being. So I think that's like the layers of that we have to unpack in the hustle culture, that rest isn't something you earn. Like you don't just earn the right to rest. Like rest is your birthright. Resting isn't a reward you give yourself of like, oh, I worked really hard. I used to do that. I worked really hard this week. I'm going to buy myself something nice and go to the spa. It's like, no, now I go to the spa. It's a staple in my weekly schedule to go to the spa. Sure. Not because I earned it. It's because it's who I am and what I get to do. Right.
Yeah. So, you know what? That's very true. And honestly, like, we were talking about this off camera before, but, I found myself in positions like that in the past where I just took on way too much. And like, I felt like, when somebody asked me to do something, it's like, what do you want to do? And I'm just, honestly, I just want to sit and do nothing. And it's because like, I just can't. I'm like, my mind is just like at the peak. Like I have nothing else to offer right now.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's not healthy.
It's not.
It's not healthy. It's not good. And that's something that like I realized. I'm like, look, I got to take a step back, take some stuff off the plate, because I'm just doing way too much for myself. I'm just doing way too much that it's like actually impacting me and the people around me. You know what I mean? And so yeah, like you do need to take those moments of disconnection, you know, and you know what, leverage allows you to do that, right?
Yeah,
leverage allows you to do that. People adding people around you to help you out with XYZ is what's going to allow you to have that time. And that's one thing that entrepreneurs, like, look, a lot of people I'm sure are stuck. Like you got yourself into business and you just created a job for yourself, okay? And you have no way of getting out. Well, there is ways of getting out. You got to invest money, okay? You got to figure out mentors that have maybe already gotten to the place that you want to be, and don't reinvent the wheel. You just got to learn those same steps that were already taken, because whatever you think about, it's been done.
It's already been done before.
Okay, so you just need to like identify who that person is, what that model is, and there could be several models. Like you talked about several different ways of like organizing your day. There's like a million of those. What works for you? But you got to actually invest the time to actually find those things, you know? Now, I did want to ask a question, like, in terms of hustle. Like, I know that I meet a lot of people who come from, you know, Latin America or other countries. They come to North America and they feel like they're just stuck in the rat race here, because it's just like I wake up, I work, I go to sleep, I have no time for anything else. I wake up, I go to work. And when you're from like a Latin American country, there's a bit emphasis on life there. I feel like work has to happen, obviously, but like people actually like, you know, they actually chill, you know, and they feel like they actually enjoy life. And some people, when they come here, they feel like they can't do that. They almost want to go back home, you know, but like, I don't know, like I think like having the mentality of like hustle and at least like try to get somewhere, maybe you just need to have a little bit of a vision to it. So my question is this, like, you're a hustler, okay? This is 416 Hustle. Obviously you've done a lot of things before you got to this point. So I'm just curious, like, what were the things that you tried in the past, and like, you know, how did you get to this content strategist?
Okay, so I'll list the things that I've done, I guess, to make it easier. So my first job was at Sky Zone. I was a birthday party host. Then I worked at Earl's as a hostess. Then I worked as a server for multiple restaurants, Joey's, Jamie's Italian. I was a part of a youth group where we got grants and non-for-profit funding at Huron Park called Hype. Oh my gosh, I'm like going back in my memories. I opened up my dance company called Confidence and Movement. I taught outdoor dance lessons, Mueve Fit. It was like kind of like Zumba, but better. Sorry.
That was your first like business thing though, right?
I think that was my first business thing. Yeah.
All right, cool.
And then my sister launched her lash and eyebrow company. So I kind of like dabbled in there, but not really. I just remember it being so inspired. How
old were you at that time?
I think I was like 16, 17.
Crazy.
Yeah. Oh, I missed performing. I used to perform, so I was a part of Tropicana Queens. It was a like entertainment samba company, so we used to do weddings, corporate events. I danced at Salsa in St. Clair. I performed on multiple stages. I went to school for social work. During the pandemic, I got an incredible opportunity. So I did my internship at a Christian community center, launching entrepreneurship and just like mental health, women and young girls, youth, young adults events. I was in 2 network marketing companies, like I mentioned. So that kind of like brought me into digital marketing. Then I opened up my social media agency, I guess formally in 2021. I worked at STK in the summer. I did Instacart and Uber Eats because I was so desperate after quitting Joey's. I made the decision to quit my job and then be left without a job and be like, well, how am I going to make money? And I had to choose, and I left network marketing at the time, so all my sources of income kind of ran dry. And then I said, okay, I can teach dance lessons, promote them on social media, and I'm going to go get a job. Nobody knew. I was so embarrassed to go back and get a job, because I was like, this is beyond me. So I started doing Instacart and Uber Eats. My dad was doing it at the time too. Again, hustle, like
416 Hustle.
I worked at STK as a server, would get home at like 3 a.m. And then I was like, I only did this for the summer. Like, that is it. And then I hired a coach, invested in myself, and formally launched the social media content days. That was my first ever service. I ran with that service. I didn't do anything else for 1 year. I just promoted VIP content days. I said, I am your content. Actually, they called me the content queen. My clients literally called me the Amazon Prime of content creation. Like, they gave me that title because I was literally delivering content like within the day, like literally like this. It was just something I loved. I had always been filming. My whole life has been around content creation. So, and then here I am now, 4 years, I guess 3 or 4 years in. I now have a podcast. I speak at multiple platforms. I just get the opportunity to kind of do all the things that I love, like looking at the puzzle pieces. I'm like, I host events. Like I did a real estate event. I hosted a women's event. I'm speaking at my church, but I'm also bringing people into the church.
Nice.
I have multiple experience in digital marketing, so I can sell courses, build courses, funnels.
That's cool.
I edit videos, but I also like include my social work through conversations with clients to be a more like understanding individual. But I also speak on platforms for youth and young adults and inspire them to build their personal brand from a young age. So I'm like, I just feel like everything has literally like these have all been like little pieces to the puzzle to be like, well, here's the big picture. And I know I haven't fulfilled, I guess, the grand picture. There's still more to achieve, but where I am now is exactly
there's never
where
fulfillment
I feel like
there. There's always there's always growth.
I feel I'm very content with where I am. Like I'm very happy with where I am. I finally can say like I'm at peace with my life right now, and it feels so good to just be like, wow, like look at all the work I've put in, and here's where it's been. But I'm unlearning hustle culture, and there's nothing wrong with hustling,
but I think you gotta do that at first.
Think you gotta hustle. And some people, like, here's what I don't understand about us young people and older people too. I'm not saying you guys are older, but we're like the same age technically. I don't want to bait out our scene here. But when I was hiring and I was looking for people to join my team, there's a lot of young people looking for jobs, like from let's say 18 to 24.
Okay.
Nobody wants to work. Everyone wants to sit on their butt and log in somewhere and get paid. And the reality is, like, I didn't get to do that. I put in hours. Like, I put in so much work. And
I love that you're saying this right now.
You have to hustle.
Note.
You have to hustle. You have to put yourself out there. You have to not do the bare minimum. Everybody just wants to do the bare minimum. Like I posted one time or I answered one email. No, I got here being an overachiever. And guess what? I'm going to continue to be an overachiever my whole life. I don't think it's a bad trait to have, but I do think there's a point in our lives as business owners where we get to reap the reward of what we've done. And I don't think it has to be a destination. I think we need to integrate it into our life. My dad, I see him and I'm like, he's worked hard his whole life. Like, what does he have? Like, why do people have to wait until they retire to live the life that they desire? And now I have clients that like own multiple properties around the world and they work really hard, but they vacation. And now instead of saying like, why travel to the place I vacation to? Why don't I just live there? And it's like, I think we're rewiring how we think about our lives and our business. And instead of waiting to get to a destination to rest, we hustle in the rest. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's something that I want to do. I feel like the person I'm gonna have in my life, both the partner or the family, if it comes, business partners, I think that we just integrate life and hustle and business so well that it doesn't feel like we have to separate things.
Correct. And there's so many things like just being your authentic self, okay? Just being you and who you are, like, and putting yourself out there, moving down the path of servicing others. All those things that you're saying are allowing you to be like happy with when you wake up in the morning, like you're happy that it's a new day and I have a new challenge in front of me and you go for it. And so, just on the point of hustling, okay? And like, this is why I asked you that question, because yes, I did like see your Instagram recently. I saw that you were doing things and I guess I was just scratching the surface and I'm only asking this because I just want to prove a point. Okay. How old are you turning in a week?
26.
26 years old. How many people at 26 years old can show me their resume and tell me that they've done all these things? Okay. And how many people? I don't think a lot of people could say that. So kudos to you, like congratulations to you to be able to like, just hustle to get to the point that now you can actually, release, you can have that time for yourself. You can release a bit, you have that flexibility now all of a sudden. Yeah. And just, why do we call this 416 hustle? We're talking about entrepreneurship. It's because you got to hustle. Like that's like whenever I talk to somebody, it's like, there's no other option, at least at the beginning, once you get to a certain point now, maybe because you hustled enough, at first, you got to a point where you can actually do things a little differently, okay? But like, you don't get to just do that. You got to earn that shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
not a lot of people in their 20s can say they're at where you're at. To be honest. So
I also just I also want to be sensitive. I'm not gonna lie. Like sometimes when I talk about my life, it almost feels like I don't want it to feel like a brag, but I want people to know that I had to have a head start. Some people have it handed to them. Some people have mommy, daddy money.
Sure.
Some people have mommy daddy money, but they get to take their own route. Some people use their life circumstance against them instead of for them. I also want to be sensitive to understanding that it doesn't have to happen on other people's timing. I may be 26 or turning 26, but somebody could do this in a year. Somebody could start at 26 and by
Honestly,
27 have their first million. Like, it's not too late.
No, in my opinion,
and
it's not too late.
I also think that, I've been privileged to have that mindset. Not everybody has the mindset, and it's a character thing. You either have it or you don't, but you can learn it. And I think that's where, like,
what's this mindset? Let's dig into that a little bit.
I think mindset.
The mindset you're talking about.
The mindset I'm talking about, it just has to be like, so you either have it or you don't. The mindset that I'm talking about is like, I'm just gonna get it done by any means. And it's not seeing things as problems, it's just finding solutions. Like
1000%.
I can literally be presented with a moment today and I'm just like, I can dwell in the problem, but my brain goes to like, how can we fix it? Like, I just need to solve this right now. Some people sit in the problem. And it's easy to sit in the problem because then we start thinking about like, when did the problem start? How did it actually happen? Why did we get, and it's like, babes, like, we just need a solution right now. You know?
Yeah, honestly, people come to me with stuff and they're like, talking about problems. I'm like, okay, that's fine. You can talk to me about problems, but what, come to me with the solution. What is your suggestion for the solution? Because honestly, like, what can I do with a problem?
And I think,
you know what I mean?
And I think the mindset shift that a lot of people don't have is that you can learn, because you can learn this. You can just learn how to be solution focused, and you can learn to be somebody who is not. It's not positive thinking. It's just being an optimistic person with a vision and saying, okay, I lost a lot of money this month. Why did we lose a lot of money? No, what could we do different? Like, how could we just make this happen?
Yeah.
What could we do? What could we launch? How could we create something?
Sure.
And I think that, unfortunately, I mean, I've had to be like that because just the nature of like who I was around. Like, I was surrounded by people who were struggling and who were still figuring out. Like, I was so inspired by the people around me, so I was constantly motivated and driven. But if you're around people that are like, sorry for the word, but they're leeches. Like, they're literally
100%.
Gonna leech your mindset and leech who you are, 100%. And they're not gonna bring anything to the table. And misery loves company. So, if you're around people that are not really doing a lot for themselves, they're going to keep you around. And chances are those are going to be the same people that get mad at you because you start doing something for yourself. And then now you start feeling like guilty for making something out of yourself. Yeah. But I'm not saying get away from those people. I'm saying learn how to protect your own mindset, protect your own energy, and have wisdom on how you're gonna surround yourself around people.
Sure.
Yes, sometimes I always say this: you can bring the horse to water, but you can't force the horse to drink, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's how I kind of treat anybody in my life. It's like, actually, my friend said, like, one thing I love about you is that you're always putting people on. I will always put people on. It's up to you if you want to make the decision.
Sure.
I can't baby
I can't walk you through the door.
I can't take you there. I'll share it with you. I'll talk about it. Everybody in my life has the same level of access to me as anybody on Instagram. And if anything, if you're in close proximity to me, I'm not saying you should have the same mindset, but I'm saying like you should kind of benefit the fact that you're around me. But they won't. And so not taking it personally, but not allowing yourself to be deterred 100%. By those people around you.
Sure. Yeah. Sure.
So I have a testimonial, and then I have a 2-part question for you. Okay. So the testimonial is that I started real estate when I was 23.
Okay.
You read the post that we talked about earlier?
Yes, I did.
So when I started real estate at 23, guys, I looked like I was fucking 17, 18. Mm-hmm. And that really like fucked with my head. Like I was like, who's gonna trust a kid that looks like he's going to prom with selling their fucking house? Okay.
Yeah.
So I was like trying to overcome that, maybe changing my attire, stressing about it. But later on in my career, I realized that like people are going to look at you a certain way no matter how you look.
Yeah.
Whether you're fat, whether you're skinny, whether you're tall, whether you're short. But as soon as you speak, someone is going to judge you differently maybe.
Yeah.
And that's where you can kind of change the game. And that's where I kind of realized that going through all those trials and tribulations, I can almost, and obviously the experience I had with renovation and door-to-door knocking and all this stuff, I can speak to almost anybody now, right? From that, I wanted to ask you, first part of the question is, because I went through it. It took me 5 years to sell my first house, and I was like, why is nobody trusting me? Did you ever want to give up? And the second part of that question was that, what would you tell Sofia if you could go back from when you first started?
Have I ever wanted to give up? Yeah, I want to give up all the time. I'm just going to be real. It makes me, it actually makes me emotional to think about that that I could take myself there. You know, like my brain instantly goes into like, I just want to give up. And that was me yesterday, and that was me the day before, and that could have been me this morning. But I think the thought, like, there's two things to that. Your thought, like your brain doesn't know the difference between the reality and just the thought, right? So we have to be very careful with the thoughts that we have, because it becomes your lived reality. And so whenever I kind of have to identify why I feel like giving up, and usually it's because something didn't go my way. Like, let's just be real. It's usually the thing that always kind of shifts me to being like, you know what, I'm just gonna give up, I'm gonna quit, I'm gonna go get a job, I'm gonna refund all this money, and I'm just gonna peace out. It's always because something didn't go my way. And and that's not a good reason why. Another reason why I wanted to give up was it just felt so hard. Like, it was like, does this ever end? Like, does the content creation ever end? The reach outs, the financial, the, you know, talking to clients. And the reality is, nothing in life is easy, because if it was easy, everybody would be doing what we would be doing. And we just have to understand that, you know, this isn't for everyone. 9 to 5s are for some people. I think there's people that are meant to be in 9 to 5s, and they love it, and they could never be entrepreneurs. I speak to a lot of people that are like,
1000%.
Listen, I'm happy being a Loblaws clerk. I love restocking shelves, and that's their purpose, because nobody else can do their job like them. And so I have to like understand that where I'm at is exactly where I need to be. And if I give up, that's actually the easy thing to do. Giving up is actually the easy thing to do.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I just think giving up I don't like saying that, but it's a daily thing, right? You either make the decision to go further, and it's a decision every single day. If you're not picking, you're choosing. So every single day nobody's gonna motivate you, nobody's gonna get you out of bed. And like, that's why I start my day with prayer. And because I honestly just ask God that like everything that I do today glorifies him, but then everything that is sent my way, whether it's a thought, a person, a situation that's meant to attack me, because that's really what it is, it's spiritual warfare and attacks, to shift them out of my life. And that's kind of where the giving up, like mindset thoughts, usually I'm derailed by something somebody said. So I think it's all about how we deal with situations. I haven't given up yet, but I will say, when I left like any of those situations, like the bartending job, network marketing, confidence and movement, it wasn't because I've given up. It just no longer served me. And we need to know the difference between giving up and walking out of things that no longer serve you in your life. And there's a difference. Some things just actually no longer serve you. You're past that season. You got to go. It doesn't align with who you are. And that doesn't mean you gave up. You're just transitioning. So I think the language is also really important. One thing I would tell younger Sofia, honestly, so many things. Like it's when I see my niece, I almost see like younger me. And it's crazy because I don't really remember a lot when I was younger. But I remember in high school, I didn't have the best relationships with anyone. So there's one thing one advice I'd give to myself is just to be kind. I wasn't kind to myself or kind to others, and it almost like affects me now, because I look back and sometimes I get anxiety walking into rooms knowing that someone from my high school is going to be there, and it's like, what are they going to think? I wasn't that person in high school. They probably met me and I was either bullying them or talking bad about them or spreading a rumor. So like I don't think I was a bully. I just think
Mean Girls.
Sofia.
I just think I just didn't. I didn't love myself, and
insecurities.
I had my own personal insecurities and my own internal battles, and I get emotional thinking about it, because I could have made some pretty solid relationships. I could have some really solid friends. I'm so grateful. I have like one friend from high school, which is standing in this room, so she's like my only friend from high school.
The only one you were nice to.
No, actually, I wasn't. So,
oh my god!
But people that have grace for you, and that's why it's so important to have people in your life that see you as the best version of you. Because I didn't see myself the best version as myself, and because of that, I was very mean and very nasty to people, and very nasty back to myself. And so I was the type of person to do that. And so younger me, I really wish, and anybody like just watching this, to be kind. And being kind is hard. That's the thing. It's so hard, because we all go through stuff, but like you don't understand the impact that it can have. And now I'm like learning how to heal that like inner child, I guess, and just pray about that and ask God to grant me the forgiveness to forgive myself for being that person to others, because I can't change what happened. But yeah, I do get anxiety sometimes being like, oh, this is going to be a high school or like an elementary school person I'm going to see. And they're going to be like, who does this girl think she is? But, you know, we're all past that. Like, we're adults. Like, how long is it going to be something I carry on? And that's where it's like, don't let your past. Now I'm like, don't let your past define your future or your present. Just live in the moment.
Correct.
And you know, you just got to walk in that light now.
So a couple of things there.
You guys almost made me tear up.
No,
like,
that's good.
No, I wasn't. I have makeup on.
No, that's good. Honestly,
this is a hustle podcast, not an emote. Come on.
No. But look, I mean, this is what I took from that. Okay, like, and if you've watched the episode from start to finish, you see something in Sofia that I see personally. It's like you're always walking towards the struggle. You're always walking towards the uncomfortable side of things. You know, and that's where growth comes. You know, so whether it be like now being kind, whereas in the past you were not, and it's hard to be like the kind person, choose your heart. Like, you know, that, you know, walking towards struggle, walking towards being like that hard is what's going to actually promote your growth. It's what's going to allow you to get to the other side. If you see that the other side is all the way over there and it's so far, you're going to have to walk through hard. You're going to have to walk towards struggle in order to get there. And that's the only way. Whether it be you trying to improve your body with like working out, that's actually a really good analogy, because you know, if you have a really hard like a training session, you're gonna be sore. It was hard, right? But like that's the only way that you're actually gonna improve.
Absolutely.
And you know, and then I see that in what you were saying, 100%. You know,
I was gonna say, like, I think you're being too hard on yourself.
I am. That's actually something.
I also, because I grew up in the church.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get back into it like recently, but I've realized that like a lot of pastors, like if you really look at it, some of them were like 10 times more evil than you were. Like some of them were like criminals, like their testimonials, like like God took them out of like drugs, like cartel stuff, like a bunch of stuff. Yeah. So you are a new light.
Yeah.
So you're gonna show that person that people can change, and you're gonna be that inspiration for that person.
Thank you.
So don't focus your energy on like, oh my God, I was such a mean and I fucking took their lunch money.
Okay, I wasn't like that. I wasn't that type of
I could just see her holding them by the ankles.
I gave
That was her. No, joking.
I gave people lunch money. What are you talking about?
Yeah, because you took it from the other guy.
No, you know I think I am. I think, you know, we are our worst critic, and I think I'm very hard on myself. But it's only because I also see my potential. I see, just like I see other people's potential around me, like I could see them and say, like, you are destined for so much greater. I hold myself to a level of standard of being like, why are you not there yet? But again, timing, and you're exactly, like I always say, you're exactly where you need to be. And so that's why I think I'm hard on myself. I think I just wish... I think I could be a lot further, which is so crazy, but I am very hard on myself. I don't consider myself a perfectionist. I just feel like there's a level of standard of who I should be and where I should be, but also holding grace for being like, I feel like I have vision, but at the same time, it's like, I also need to have grace and say, you know what? Like you said, like God sees me perfect. God sees me whole. And if he sees me as that, why can't I see myself as that? So every day, like I said, every day is a struggle where I have to, this is a constant daily decision to have that mindset. So
I'm going to tell you one last thing. I saw a viral TikTok and it changed my perception as well. And it's a football coach yelling at his football team. Yeah. And he says, lazy people do little and they feel like they did a lot. And hardworking people do a lot and they feel like they did little. So as entrepreneurs, because I struggled with that too, finding that balance of feeling fulfilled and I did enough, and you need that positivity around you. There's mentors that are going to be straight and real with you and be like, I think you can push for more, or I feel like you're doing too much, or you look burnt out. You know what I mean? Like I have a shout out to Mandy from Keller Williams. She's like one of like the, you know, powerhouses in our office, and she's like a mother figure to us. So I call her Mama Mandy, like when I see her, right? And she'll tell me straight out, she's like, Andres, you look tired. Or like recently she told me like, oh, you're looking a little more, you know, a little glow to you. I'm like, yeah, I've been juicing, trying to hit the gym, you know, trying to get the belly a little lower, you know. So like you need those people to hold you accountable, because if you're going to judge yourself, you'll never be able to judge yourself properly. You need other judges that are going to tell you the good and bad.
And you need, like you said, mentorship, but community. Like this year, my focus was friendships. I never nurtured my friendships. Like, and I always complained that I didn't have friendships, but like I have friends, but I used to say like, I don't have friends. Like I don't have people, but I wouldn't nurture them. So now, like, for example, I can say to my friends, like, I can't expect them to be a friend to me if I can't be a friend to them.
100%.
And my focus was nurturing my relationships, becoming a great friend to myself, and showing up as that before I expected that. So mentors are great, but I also, there's a reference biblically that I talk about, is that Jesus had the 1, the 3, the 12, and the masses. And to some people it may make sense, some people it doesn't. But Jesus had the 12 disciples, but he, like, when you look at your friends, like, we could sit at a table, but not everybody's at the table, and then there's like the 5,000, which is like my social media, people that just know me out on the streets, like, me, and then there's like my 3 that, like, if you're in the hospital, you about to die, who are you calling? Like, who you're calling. Or maybe that's not part of your 3. It's maybe part of your, like, external circle. And then you have your 1. Like, you have your rock, your ride or die. And I didn't have that. Like, I was like, who's my friend? Like, I'll just call this random girl from social media. And it's like, having that community and having that internal, yes, mentorship. I have people that will message me and be like, girl, you look so tired right now. Like, and I have clients, too, that'll be like, Sofia, like, don't work on my stuff. I want you to work on my stuff when you're better. Because they know the best version of me. Then I have my friends that are like, girl, let's go on a spa day. Thank you, Jesus, because that's what I needed. Or like sometimes I just want to laugh and go grab a coffee. I think being able to have core people and actually knowing who your friends are and then pouring back into them so that they can essentially be like pour back into you when you need it as well. So mentorship, community,
There's one other thing that I wanted to point out that you said a little earlier that I think is very important, especially for an entrepreneur and somebody who's like maybe started their journey and they're feeling like they're hitting a wall, or they're feeling like, they're so far away or almost from where their goal is, and maybe that they wasted a lot of time. You gotta ground yourself and bring yourself back to like the present, okay? Like it's small little like things that you do consistently that is gonna actually move the needle. The past doesn't exist anymore. It's gone. Like it's gone. There's nothing you can do about it. And also the future, it also has not come to be. You can only really focus on right now. And if you look at, and that's such a simple thing to kind of think about, but if you ground yourself and you think about that concept on like, whenever you feel like you're struggling, there's always a new beginning now.
Yeah.
Like what can you do right now then? If you didn't do it yesterday, you didn't do the day before, you didn't do it last month when you probably should have, it's done.
Yeah.
What can you do right now then? And that's how you're gonna, like if you ground yourself, and I use that, I learned that recently actually in the last like, let's say year or so, and honestly like it's been very helpful to me. And I preach this to everyone that's on my team as well. Like when we have meetings, I'm like, guys, remember, like, focus on the now. Like the past is done. Like what can we do moving forward, to actually move the needle? What can we do right now? Like focus on the present. And that's going to be actually very helpful with you, like building the relationships and stuff. Like when you're with people, like you got to just be present with them. Don't have your mind fogged with all this stuff that's like doesn't matter.
That's
like,
another thing I've been working on, being present. It's really hard.
Well, that's why people struggle with anxiety and depression. That's all the concept of feeling like
they're thinking ahead or they're thinking behind, and they're that's what just gets them
and that's why our world, like our society and our generation struggles the most with depression and anxiety, because we either feel like we're behind or feel like we're not fulfilled and we're not where we need to be. But when you're right, you're thinking in your past, you're allowing yourself to dive into a version of you that no longer exists. And if you're so focused on the future, you can't just focus on the blessings and the opportunities that you have in front of you, because you're anxious in what's going to happen tomorrow and the day after. And again, another Bible verse, it says, do not be anxious for anything. I'm probably going to mess this up, but I should pull it up because I'm going to mess this up because I don't know it. But it says, don't worry. I think it's Matthew 6:33, actually. I want to pull it up.
Oh, yeah, no, that's...
hold on.
You can paraphrase it. We're not going to like hold it against you.
No, but I
I know she needs to have it perfect.
Tomorrow has its own worries. Here it is. Matthew 6:34. It says, therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. And it just makes sense because it's like...
Same thing.
Matthew 6:33 says, seek first the kingdom of God, and all of its things will be added back to you. And then it says, therefore don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow has its own trouble, because that's the reality. Is you're anxious thinking about tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to come with its own set of problems. When you're going to get married, when you're going to have kids, when you're going to launch your business, that comes with its own problems. I don't want to think about those problems, and that's the anxiety that rolls in. That's why people can't sleep. That's why we're seeing more of a mental health crisis. It's literally all because we're thinking about what's next instead of thinking about what is and right now. And honestly, my mom played such a big role in that for me. Like, she used to play like Oprah and Deepak Chopra, and like we used to call her crazy. Like all the things now that our generation practices. It was so crazy back then to be like, what do you mean stay present? What do you mean meditate? What do you mean present moment?
I'm not a hippie.
Like my mom used to wake us up to being like affirmations, and I'm like, this girl is so crazy. She used to juice. She used to do all these healthy smoothies, and now looking back, I'm like, my mom was the seed. The seed that was planted in my life. To now it's sprouting and now I see it. But if my mom wouldn't have done that, and I feel bad because we judged her so much of being this like woohoo woman, but it's like, no, she was literally, she knew what was happening, and she knew that there was power in focusing on the present moment and living out that, you know, the power of now, and being able to just be appreciative for the it is, and my mom always talked about it. So I just think it's like, I pay homage to I owe my mom so much. I mean, she brought us to Canada, but also like her mindset was on, you know, if I focus about the past of what I did, where's it going to take me? Down a rabbit hole, you know? If I focus on the future, it's going to take me down another step. If I focus on right now, I could be the best version of myself to you, to myself, and to everybody else that's, you know, deserving of that me, you know?
Basically, you bullied your mom.
We all did. I felt so bad. I mean, don't we all like bully our parents?
I still do. I love your mom.
I love my mom so much. She's like, un podcast? Yeah, she's my biggest fan. Like, honestly, my mom is the real deal.
That's
like,
amazing.
My mom likes all my stuff. So, you know, she's not just watching. She's liking it too.
I think my dad still doesn't really understand, like, that I just, like, I'm on my phone 24/7. I'm speaking like, ¿y qué es eso? And Instagram, because on Instagram all he does is send me all these funny dog videos, and so that's probably like,
isn't that what Instagram's for?
You know, so it's so funny. Honestly, our parents, like, I don't know if, like, as immigrant parents, but also Latin Americans, it's like they just anybody's parents. I feel like I'm learning right now as an adult. Like, I don't have kids, I'm not married, but I know that I couldn't imagine what they went through when we were younger and like raising us, and that's my why. And I think to tie the hustle back all together and why we do what we do, we all need to have a why. And I promise you, the day that my mom gets her home in Colombia that she's always wanted and bugged us for, like, I like that's gonna be my why, is to be able to put her into a place that she wakes up to. She can like literally see the ocean, see the sand, and then my dad, like, I don't know what happiness and freedom looks like for him, but I want to give him everything, like whether it's a Tesla or I mean, I bought him a little mini car, like a mini car Ferrari, just to be like, hey, you know, it's coming soon, just not yet.
I like that.
But just like to be able to pay their mortgage, retire them, like do so much. It's like, that's my why. I think like we came to Canada for the Canadian dream, and like I think maybe I'm not.
They gave you the opportunity.
They gave us the opportunity. It's like, how can, not that we owe our parents, because I think also that's a mindset of like we have to give our parents back so much, but like they did it. They came from another country with nothing here, built something for themselves.
That takes guts. That takes grit.
Honestly, so
you know, and we want to, you know, like the way I look at it is that we already won the lottery.
Yeah.
Just by being you know, in North America, in a place where you have opportunities, because many places back home, like, or in many Latin American countries or other countries around the world, like, opportunities are limited. You can have a degree and there's just no job available, that you end up just doing something that gives you money because there's nothing else, you know. And so here at least we have the opportunity to do that. And anyone who's listening, for when it comes to that, like, you got to think about, like, you have an opportunity, like, don't waste it, right? Like, I see a lot of people who are born here and stuff, and like, what are you doing?
And you don't have to go to school. You don't have to follow, like, honestly, like, you don't have to get an education. I do everything that I do without a formal education.
Sure. And
not saying that education's bad, but there are so many resources. You think about our parents, you think about, like, the previous generation, everyone did this without social media.
Of course.
And now we have this global internet
that actually would make it easier. So it's like, drop your excuses. If they did it, you can do it too. And you have much more resources. There's free courses on Coursera. Like, there's Fiverr and Upwork that will literally hire you. Like, there's so many different platforms and opportunities that I'm like, people need to stop making excuses for the current circumstances that they're in. And it's like, I don't know. As I was hiring my team, I said, like, the one thing I just cannot accept is excuses. I'm just like, you know can't. So we'd be doing the people a very big disservice if I didn't ask you this question. Like, you're a social media strategist. You know, you obviously, you know, implement so many different strategies for businesses. Like, what would you say is something that most businesses can probably implement today that could actually help them with putting themselves out there or their business out there? Just like one tip, 1 or 2 tips that like, you know, someone can implement ASAP.
Okay. Social media wise, it would be tell the people who you are, what you do, and how you can help them.
In like a video.
In a video. You know, grab a phone. Your phone is much more qualified. If you don't have a tripod, grab your water bottle and put your phone on there and speak to the camera. I mean, do it outside, do it in front of your window. Where you are doesn't matter.
Yep.
But grab your phone, tell people who you are, what you do, and how you can help them. I'll give you an example. My name is Sofia Aguilar. I'm a content creator and strategist, and I help people create 30 days worth of content in 1 day.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
You don't need to say the most. You don't need to know my whole
Quick
story.
pitch.
It's a quick pitch. You think about it like an elevator pitch. If you and I were in the elevator, we have 10, maybe 3 seconds, depending on how many floors you're going up, to introduce myself. Oh, do you want more information? I gotta go. Here's my card. Like that kind of style, because people don't know. If people don't know who you are, they don't know how you can help them. Why would you think that they are going to buy into you? The second thing is, don't be afraid to build the know, like, trust factor. I don't remember who this reference is from, but when people know you, they like you, and they like you, they trust you. Let people get to know you. Be consistent. Have a daily method of operations with what you do. This is like the business me coming on now. It's like, have things that you do on a day-to-day basis, but also in your day where you can show up consistently somewhere. Is it a coffee shop? Is it social media? Is it a networking event you're going to weekly? But that needs to be like a priority of getting, if no one's buying into you, go find the people. Because I always said, starting my business, I knew that I didn't know everyone, but I knew one person who knew somebody. So for me, if you weren't buying from me, then I was going to go to you. I was going to go find you. And I mean, my new offer or something new that I'm creating, I'm going to have to go and find the people. Is it going to be a little uncomfortable? Absolutely. But do I know real estate agents? Yeah. Do I know mortgage agents? Yeah. Do I know content creators? Absolutely. Do I know restaurant owners? Yeah. And so guess what? There's going to be somebody for everyone. But I need to go out and find them. If they're not coming to me, I need to go and tell you who I am. I need to get to know you. We're going to build a relationship, and then we're going to trust each other to go into business together. So I really think that's like a social media business thing. But if there's a tip that I could just say is like, write down what you really want. And Oprah said this in one of her interviews. She said the best question you could ask yourself is, what do you really want? And if where you are right now isn't what you want, then don't be afraid to challenge what it would look like if you could really go after your dreams. And maybe it's moving to a new country. Can you start doing the research of what that would look like? Because once you start getting your brain, you start putting together the pieces. You don't need to know the how. You don't need to know the what. You just need to get yourself connected to the thing that you want. Whether it's you need to see a picture, whether you need to have a conversation with somebody, just try it out. You want to start a business? What business? Like, write it down. You want a husband? What does that husband look like? What attributes? Who are they? You want a house? Can you sketch the house? You want a car? Can you go test drive the car? I test drove the Mercedes that I wanted. I'm still driving my Volkswagen, which to be honest is the same price as the Mercedes, but whatever. I went to test drive the Mercedes because I really want that car. And I know I'll get it when the interest rates go down, just not right now. But you have to get closer to what you really want. And don't be afraid that if you're not where you want to be right now, this is not the end destination for you. So that's most important, is to get connected with what you want, who you want to be around, what you want your life to look like. And if you can think it in your brain, if you can see it in your mind, then you can achieve it.
Hope is not a strategy. You got to kind of write these things down. If you have a goal in mind, you need to kind of plan it, right? You need to have to actually spend a bit of time, put a little bit of effort, write it down, and see what action steps need to be taken in order to kind of reach that goal. If you just verbalize a goal without actually doing the plan, like, it's never going to happen, you know? And just to kind of break down what you said, so who you are, what you do, and how you can help. Okay, and if I'm gonna add something like that, take action. Like, just do it, you know? And when you're actually recording the video, it doesn't have to be perfect. You can fumble along the way. Like, the way that I record is I just let it film, and if I don't like my intro, I say it like 10 times. I say, like, until you get the right moment, and then you can cut it out. You take the best pieces of it, and you're done. You know?
Yeah, that's how I film my clients. I tell them, like, we can stop and start the video. Half of the productions that we see in movies, you think they do it all in one take?
Yeah,
no way.
How many cuts there are?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
but actually, just want to plug in what you were saying about writing the vision. I like literally feel like this is a whole Bible study. I'm so sorry. Well, no, I'm not sorry at all. But in Habakkuk, it says, write the vision, make it plain. This is, again, going back, like, you need to write the vision, write the plans. There's reasons why when you're building a home, you have a blueprint.
Correct.
How can you build the foundations of a home without the blueprint, without knowing what you're going to put in where? I mean, I don't know how construction works, y'all, but, you know, I guess concrete,
anybody can,
I guess,
figure out that concept.
Anybody can figure it out, right? Mm-hmm. The blueprint is the most important, but you don't need to know it all. When I started my podcast, started my business, I didn't care for the logo. I didn't care for the website.
Sure.
I cared about making relationships.
Logo version 1, by the way.
Boom.
Very quickly.
Beta version.
So
beta version.
Beta testing. I could have we could have another conversation about beta testing and like a whole business thing.
Sure.
But
we might have a few different versions of that. We'll
yeah,
see.
seriously.
All right, Sofia, thank you so much
Thank
for
you
coming
so
today.
much.
We appreciate you. That was great. A lot of gems,
Yes.
a lot of spirituality, a little, outside the box,
Yeah.
finding fulfillment in yourself.
Yes.
You have any final words?
Yeah, no, same. I think like you need to find yourself, and and that's what you kind of brought to the table here today. Be your authentic self, and like when you do that and you start serving people, like when you walk down that path, you're gonna see that it's gonna be the most rewarding.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna wake up in the day and not feel upset about what's going on. You're actually gonna be happy to like take on that new challenge. Don't worry about the past. Don't worry about the future. Think about the present and keep it moving. Set an action plan, write it down, and you got like some really specific tips on what you can do on social media in order to expose yourself. Like, guys, I don't know what to say. Like, rewind it and watch it again.
Call Sofia.
Yeah, that's it.
Just give me a call.
Where can they find you?
Google me.
Yeah.
I am number one when you pop up on Google. My SEO is pretty wicked. But my website is www.sofiaaguilar.ca. My Instagram is @saguilar_. My TikTok, same thing. I'm on LinkedIn, Sofia Aguilar. YouTube, Sofia Aguilar. I also have a podcast called the One of One Podcast. You can find that on Spotify and YouTube.
I like that. One of One.
Yeah, it's pretty great. I'm not gonna lie. And that just being
check it out.
But yes,
that's Sofia. So thank you so much for watching. This has been 416 Hustle, and this is episode 2 with Sofia Aguilar.
Take care.